John arrived in London on a rainy afternoon. The sky was gray, and the city lights shone on wet streets. "Back to the fog and tea," he said with a smile. His destination today was the London Prison and Escape History Museum. "Welcome," said the guide, a tall man with a serious face. "Here, you'll walk through centuries of crime and punishment." John followed the group through a heavy iron gate. The sound of the door closing echoed through the hall. "That sound," the guide said, "was the sound of lost freedom." John shivered a little. "It feels real," he whispered. The first room showed the old cells from the 1700s. "Tiny, dark and cold," the guide said. "Prisoners slept on stone floors." John looked inside one of the cells. "It's smaller than a closet," he said. "They didn't have windows," the guide added, "only silence." "I'd go crazy in there," someone said behind him. "That was part of the punishment," the guide replied. They moved on to the next section, the escape stories. On the wall were photos of famous prisoners who had tried to break out. "Look at this one," the guide said. "He built a fake key from bread." "From bread?" John laughed. "That's creative, and desperate." "Exactly," the guide smiled. "Hope is stronger than fear." John nodded slowly. "Even in a cell, the human spirit fights back." In the next room, there was a display of old tools and ropes. "These were used in prison escapes," the guide explained. "Every mark on these walls tells a story of courage or regret." John touched the cold stone wall gently. "It feels like history is still alive here," he said. "It is," the guide said. "This building remembers." They walked down a narrow staircase into the lower chambers. "This is where prisoners waited for judgment," the guide said. "Some were innocent, some guilty, all were afraid." John felt a chill as he looked at the old wooden bench. "I think of my own mistakes," he said quietly. "We all have them," the guide replied, "but not all are punished." In the next hall, there was a section about modern justice. Screens showed how prisons now focus on education and change. "This is hope," John said, "not revenge." "That's the future," the guide nodded, "learning instead of hate." John smiled softly. "I like that." They reached the final exhibit, the Key of Freedom. It was a giant sculpture made of hundreds of small keys. A sign below read, "Freedom belongs to those who respect it." John stood there for a long moment. "When I lost my parents," he thought, "I felt trapped by pain. But maybe I was the one holding the lock." He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "Maybe forgiveness is another kind of escape," he whispered. The guide noticed his expression. "Heavy thoughts?" he asked. "Just learning," John said softly, "learning to unlock myself." The group moved to the museum cafe for tea. "You know," John said to the guide, "this place isn't sad at all." "No?" the guide asked, surprised. "No," John said, "it's full of second chances." The guide smiled. "That's the best escape story of all." John took out his journal and began to write. "Freedom is not given," he wrote, "it is built inside." Outside, the rain had stopped, and a ray of sun touched the museum gate. He looked up at the open sky and smiled. "Thank you, London," he whispered, "for reminding me what freedom means." His 74th bucket list dream had come true. Behind the walls of history,